Hopefully, you guys can hear me okay. We cut out the normal intro and everything today, and we're going to kind of cut out all the chatter to kind of respond to a conversation that I had with a guy who's named John. That's why we went with the title Dear John. And I'm hoping to get the dads in here tonight and let them, like myself, give their story and share it with this person to kind of inform him a little bit on exactly how things work, especially when it comes to the single mothers. If I can figure out how to get this uh, page open with the images that I have to share, I decided to essentially copy and save the conversation because, well, this person's kind of notorious for deleting them. You know, if you tell her something she doesn't agree with, well, it's gone. So whoever hears it, whoever sees it, really doesn't matter. But I will be sending this stream directly to the gentleman named John. And, he can hear firsthand testimony of why you really shouldn't pity these single mothers because, as we've always stated, it's a fucking choice. And they know it's a choice. Um, Whether or not anybody wants to accept it, that's totally up to them. I mean, let's be honest, it wouldn't be the first time we've ever heard of somebody from that side of the aisle just basically putting off the responsibility and the causation of their children not having fathers on the father when really it's the mother who has all the control. So I'm just trying to figure out how the hell I can share this thing. It doesn't seem to want to recognize that I have photos open. So it's not letting me share the page or the window that I have open. Oh, here we go. Never mind. It's up now. Good job. Yay. What's up, gents? So I want to share this with you guys. And this is the conversation that we had started on her post. Now, Shania is not somebody I know personally. She's been a friend of mine for quite some time. And I can't really remember. I think I know who she is, and I believe father of her own son is. And that is why I actually friended her on Facebook, was to basically get updates and photos of his kid for him. Hey, it may be kind of like, not the greatest method of doing things, but let's be honest, I have somebody who does that for me as well with my ex-wife and my kids. Because, John, if you don't know, I'm a father of four, and three of my children were completely erased from my life thanks to their mother. It was the only thing she wanted to do. It didn't matter what kind of a father I was. She wanted me out of their lives, and she essentially assassinated me before we were even divorced, using terms like, now these boys don't have a father, while I was sitting right next to them. All kinds of crazy shit. Now, my oldest son, a while back last year, reached out to me. I made contact after 4.5 years of being separated and was extremely excited. For months, we talked, and all of a sudden, he just disappeared. Um, for months, I could not get an answer back from him. I missed him every day and every night on Facebook to say good morning, to say good night, and to try to get some kind of response. And I never got it. About 3 months after that, I got it essentially what was an accidental response. And it was a completely different person that I was talking to. So much so that I was ready to call the local authorities where he lived and have a welfare check done because this did not sound like the kid that I was talking to 3 months prior. Essentially, what happened, she found our messages, realized we were, corresponding back and forth. He was excited about it, and she took away his ability to get online and then got her entire family to start brainwashing him to make me out to be the biggest monster that she could possibly have created. When he finally answered me back, he was talking about things that I stolen from her former husband who has killed himself, right? Um, so I took on a single mother, but single motherhood or single parenthood, as I like to call it, really there's only one way you get that, and that is through death, right? The other parent has to die. As far as I'm concerned, Shania, all these women that claim to be the single mothers, single motherhood is a choice. And I stated that in the comments in this thread that she put up. And you might not have agreed with it, but here's a few things that I don't agree with, and I'm sure you're going to hear the same thing from a lot of the other guys. Everything in this post that she has made here is a complete lie. If she was truly sorry, she would reach out to those kids' dads and reconnect the boys with their dads. Okay? They don't want that. That's not what they want. And like I said, personally, if Shania's oldest boy is the friend that I have's son, he may be a lot of things just like me, maybe just like you, John, but a bad father is not one of them. Terrible husband, I'll take that card, although I thought I was a pretty good husband. Terrible boyfriend, yeah, I'll admit that one right up. Right now, I wouldn't date me if I was a chick because you're not going to get anything, right? There's no emotional connections anymore. And the fact that essentially roughly around 97% of all single mothers are fighting to keep fathers away from their children. This is not a responsibility you can put on the dad, which you tried to state. So just give me a second here, because I had to kind of go back through and redo that last one. Oh, okay, so here's the first comment that you made afterwards, John, when I said it is a choice. And it is. For her to be a single mother is a choice. To be a parent is also a choice. You can have a civil relationship, whether you hate that person or not, but you can have a civil relationship to allow the child to have time with both parents. You can. It's a choice they make. But it's not just a choice that they make, it's a condition that our system pushes. Why? Family courts are driven off profit. Social services groups, child welfare, whatever you want to call it, CVS, all pushed off the profits that they make when separating a mother or a father and the children. That's where they make their big numbers, right? The family courts judges, all their retirements are paid for by the matching prices they get from federal governments for child support they collect. So why the fuck would they ever give a man, a father, any custody when they could just, that just cuts their retirement in half? Why would they do that? You won't be able to pay for the social services clubs anymore. And I've got 3 children that are living proof on that. Okay. So during our conversation back and forth, I tried to point out a very plain and straightforward explanation for why I thought it was a choice. You tried to throw this information or the blame and responsibility back on the guy only. That is literally the dumbest thing out there when they have all the say. Women have all the say in reproduction because they're the ones that spread their legs for whatever guy and allow them inside them, right? Anything outside of that is rape. Therefore, if they're not being charged with rape, she was the willing participant. The guy leaving the woman has nothing to do with the children. Nothing. Don't give a shit what you think. Okay? A separation of husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, whatever the case may be, one night stand, don't care. They don't want to stay together, fine and dandy. That does not mean that the father gets removed and disposed of. But in our society, that's fucking pushed. Because again, like I said, it's all about the child support dollars. And you know what? If tonight we can get a couple of guys to come in and tell their stories, you're going to see more than one that kind of starts to follow that pattern. Whether you have experienced it or not, I mean, good on you if you haven't, but you're one in a million. You're not the exception to the rule. Or, sorry, you are the exception to the rule. You're not the rule itself. Because in our groups now, where we have found each other through online platforms or even offline platforms, you start to hear a very constant, steady story. Like it all starts to line up. It's not your origin story, no matter what you've gone through in the family courts as a father. You're not the only one. No matter how alone you feel during that time, you're not the only one. You're one of millions, and I would say probably billions, right? Happens every day, hundreds of thousands of times a day. And in this photo, I thought we were getting really close to that eureka moment. And unfortunately, the next comment you dropped was essentially a step backwards. But you know what? Maybe hearing from these dads themselves, like myself, you'll maybe get a bit of a better understanding. And if you have kids, which I'm pretty sure you do, you are married as far as I know, and that's about as deep as I went into your profile, but you're married, you most likely have kids. Some of them are probably grown up, and now they're going to be facing this same scenario. You might not have went through it yourself. Half of the guys in here will have seen their parents have marriages that lasted the whole way. And even if they didn't, they at least had a co-parenting situation where both parties were involved in the child's life. Both parties wanted the other person involved in that child's life because they both knew that that was in the child's best interest. Being a single mother is literally the worst thing you can do for your children. And again, I am drawing a line between a difference between a single mother and a parent. No man out there should ever want to take on a single mother, because there is a trail of damage that she leaves. You can see it very plainly. I mean, any guy that would take on a single mother like this, who has kept two children away from their parents or from the other parent, is not a good investment. Plain and simple. And you know what? She can come out and say she cares as much as she wants. I'm afraid it's just not true. It is just not true. Okay? So, with that said, guys, if any of you want to come in, the StreamYard's link is at the top. I do still have it pinned. If you want to come in and add a message to John's Dear John letter, feel free. I know this one was kind of short notice, and there's kind of a time difference between us. A couple of the guys are probably already in bed right now, but sharing our stories with John, maybe sharing them with a bunch of people, just privately. Like I said, I'm going to send this directly to him, and I want you guys to add your examples, because this isn't my origin story. I really wish it was. If I was the only dad going through this and my kids were the only kids going through this, it'd be great. I call that a fucking victory. But we have millions of men going through it, and probably hundreds of millions of children. Sorry, I spilled some ashes there. But yeah. So other than that, I hope you all been well. I know I haven't been around a lot lately because, life, busyness. Plus, I think I'm getting older, gentlemen. And maybe with the diabetes on top of that. But God damn, by 6 o'clock, I'm just done. I'm done, man. Ready for bed. I hope you're all doing well, though. And if anybody would like to come on and share a story, I know Ghost Billy, you've got a more recent story. It's good to see you, buddy. Yours is more active right now, and you're going through the start of it. So if you would like to pop in, say your few words to John, feel free. Indy's got a completely different story. You know, Indy was one of the anomalies when it comes to fathers and family courts. But I don't know if for sure his wife just didn't show up. Whatever the case may be, he ended up with his children. Very rare. Very rare. I mean, I believe the numbers in total are like 17% of all parents that go, all fathers that go through the family courts, 17% get even joint custody. Like that goes down as low as joint custody. And at the same time, that 17%, 9% of them don't show up. 9% of the mothers do not show up. So they just get awarded, custody fully or custodial parenthood, whatever you would call it. I mean, at the same time, we all know it because we've all seen it. We've covered a couple of stories where women have been in jail during the, divorce proceedings or the custody proceedings. So the father got custody. The second she was released, she got custody. He had to start paying her child support. And in a couple of cases, when they got custody, they ended up murdering the children. And it's just fucking terrible. Some of the stories we have covered is just terrible. But John, yeah, pitying these single mothers. No, buddy. Sorry. I think you did kind of the wrong thing there. And you really need to look at what they do, because what they say doesn't match. Not at all. What's up, Megatron? Cuban Speed, good to see you, buddy. We got Hemi in the back. Hemi, you've been through this road. You want to come on and say a piece? Give your dear John to John? Oh, hey, and Reverend 20 Pieces here. Reverend 20 Pieces, another one, I can't remember exactly what he said the price tag was on his divorce, but I believe upwards of $180,000 just to get joint custody or every second weekend with his kids. Does that sound fucking fair? The fact that dads have to go in and fight to be dads, women just have to show up, or they can just run off. And who's going to track them down? All right, brother. Well, the link is up there. We'll give him a minute to step in. I'll light my cigarette. And again, when it comes to single motherhood and social services, I mean, they have 101 million programs for them. You never see them have a program for the dads. None. How many women's shelters do we have? Somewhere around 33,000, I think, in Canada alone, I believe. And I think we have 0 men's shelters. And the last one that tried to start one actually was bullied to the point where he ended up committing suicide. And the sad fact is, most of the guys that have gone through what we've gone through have ended up in the same place. We have buried more men due to self-deletion simply because the family court stole their children from them and it fucking destroyed them. You never see that with women. Never. I don't even know if there ever has been a recorded case of a woman that committed suicide after a family court decision. Let's welcome Brother Hemi. How are you, sir? Hemi. Oh, Hemi's having audio issues. Nope, we lost Hemi. So yeah, we have 2 types of women like that. Until he gets back in here, I mean, my ex-wife is exactly like this young woman, and my youngest kid's mom is exact opposite. You there, Hemi? Still got no audio, buddy. Well, Hemi's having some connection issues. But if any of the other guys want to pop in and share a story, it's highly appreciated. I believe more, even older men could learn a lot from what has been going on. We don't all experience the same thing, obviously. And just a second, I have to go check on my little monster. Are you there, Hemi? No connection yet. Alrighty. Well, this could be a short Dear John letter then. Maybe it'll just be mine. But I just wanted to do this quick one for him. I was hoping a couple of you guys would be able to get on tonight and share it, at the very least, share your point of view, what you've been through. But if we can't tonight, I didn't plan on running this one too long. Like I said, I didn't want it to go over an hour max. We're already 21 bloody minutes into this. So, I'll send this off as it is, however it is. I mean, either way, hopefully, John, you can get a better view of what's been going on in the world around you while you kind of sat in your
Okay,
Pluto phase.
three times the charm. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can, buddy. How are you?
Oh my goodness. I was still stuck in the Discord, so I guess it took over my audio.
You betcha.
Yeah, where to begin? It's not a good day if you're a man in the family court system, that's for sure. You do not end up with custody ever, if ever, unless she's an absolute shit show. And what you do end up with is what they call the status quo, which is 4 days a month, which that translates into 48 days per year. No,
A whole lot
consider
of
what
nothing, isn't it?
consider what type of influence you have at 48 days. 365 divided by 48 was 7.6% of the kid's year
Yeah.
will be spent with you. Like you're a bloody stranger. Like the children will spend more time with their school teachers than they will with their father.
Yeah.
You know, um, and it'll cost you an arm and a leg. Mine was relatively cheap. I got out for about 35,000. But I got it with the bare minimums. Like I said, 4 days a month. And as the kids get older, you know, they start to take on lives of their own, so that time dwindles down even more so. But they'll tell you in court that time is not. There's no correlation between time and what you have to pay.
Yeah.
The two of them they don't matter, right? Like so,
Well,
yeah,
if you
you'll pay the full bill, but you'll get a fraction of the time.
well, I'd have to say one of our greatest Canadian comedians, Dave Foley, had the best description of a family court.
Hmm.
Gone completely wrong. Let's face it. They based his child support off his peak earning times,
Hmm.
even
On
though he wasn't.
news radio, I think he was on at that time, right?
Yeah,
Hit show.
even though he wasn't making the kind of money that they based him off. The
Hmm.
judge looked him right in the eye and told him, "Your ability to pay does not affect your obligation to pay."
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
they
yeah.
didn't give a shit what he was making now, right?
No,
They didn't give a
no,
shit. They wanted the
no.
maximum amount, and his monthly child support here in Canada, $80,000 a month. And I know that's fuck all compared to some of the basketball players and shit that have now recently gone through the family court system and is on child support. This was a guy whose acting career was winding down. not winding up, right? And he still didn't make nearly the amount of money that those guys.
Huh? That's $960,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
not chump change.
yeah. And if you look up his story when he told Joe Rogan the full account of what was going on prior to the divorce, I mean, he was literally taping a show, right? And then
Yeah,
flying all the way to fucking places like India just to see his kids.
right.
And that was before the divorce was ever mentioned. She would just take off, gone to the other side of the world. Why? To make it as difficult as possible. His former wife is no different than all these other single mothers out there. Like I said, big difference between a single mother and a parent, right? A
Yeah,
parent gives as much time as the other parent can handle, right? While keeping it civil between them. Because again, the relationship between a mother and a father doesn't fucking matter.
it shouldn't.
It shouldn't, but it doesn't matter either because at the same time, you say you want what's best for your kids. Well, what's best for your kids is to have both parents involved in their life, especially if they're, straight, level headed people, right?
Right,
I
right,
don't
right.
care if you're a crackhead. If you wanted to see your kids during visitation times, you get to see your kids during visitation times because I want them to know you as a parent, right? It might be a lot more limited, but still you'll get to see them because that's not fair to you or them. Men put the children first, women put their fucking feelings first. And when
Mm.
you gave them control of the family court because you wanted to fucking profit off of it, you literally gave them everything they needed to ruin every child's life to this day. And you know what? We're going to bring in Mr. Outlaw. What's up, brother?
Hello, guys. What's going
I know
on?
you're not a father, but you know what?
Yeah.
You have family members that have gone through this. So please,
It's like cancer, man. It's like it's touched everyone. Like
it,
it's one of those things that like maybe not you, but you know somebody it's happened to. It's like that's how prevalent it is.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so what is he in particularly having an issue with about it? Like,
Well, I
was
mean, essentially, and like I said, it's not. This isn't an attack on John, right? In
yeah,
any
yeah,
way. It's just to try to
absolutely.
clarify why I said it's a choice. And by him following the status quo of just automatically saying, yeah, it's the man's fault.
Yeah, I found
Read
he
more,
was
look into
when
the
when I
details.
when I read that, I found he was with that talking point of all these men abandon them, like
Yeah,
they just leave, and it's like
So,
I was pushed away. You
yeah.
know, I would
So was
if
I.
I came around, I would have found myself arrested.
And
You
that's
know,
okay,
like
so he basically shares the standard view that most people do, that men are the ones to blame for divorce and don't want to
or
see kids and stuff
yeah,
like that. Yeah. Okay.
exactly. Now, like
Okay.
I said, I don't know for sure if
Yeah.
my buddy Chad is the father of her oldest son, right? And
Yeah.
I've stated a few times to you guys since we had this conversation a few days ago, I know
Mhm.
Chad is a lot of things, just like all of us. A bad
Yeah.
dad ain't one of them because he has children with another woman, and he is one of the most loving, caring dads I know. He gives
Yeah.
me a run for my money. He gives us all a run for our money. He might have
Mhm.
his problems. He might drink a bit much for me, but I don't drink at all. So you all drink a bit much for me. Right?
Mhm.
sure.
That's
Yeah.
not my concern. My concern is how well does he do with the kids? Does he spend time with them? Of course he does. And you know what? If the other, what is it, 87% that they're willing to admit to that don't have any custody of their kids or any time with them, according to the family courts, right? If
Yeah.
they were given the opportunity to hang out with their kids, if they wouldn't go to jail or fucking find themselves back in the family courts or
hmm
wherever,
Mhm.
in a lot of cases now, when men win their joint custody, we're seeing this becoming like the new epidemic. The
Mhm.
mothers are having the fathers killed with new
Yeah.
boyfriends and all kinds of weird shit.
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
so what fucking hope do we have? And like I said, this woman in specifically, and again, I'm not saying she's a horrible person. I just don't believe her when she says she loves her children or she's sorry that they didn't have the proper family. I don't believe her for a second because
Mhm.
she's the one
Yeah,
that
she
has all the power.
didn't foster it, I'm sure.
Of course not, right? Of
You
course
know.
not.
Mhm. Mhm.
My ex-wife is a horrible mother, not because she beats the kids, not because she starves them, or anything of that nature. It is simply because she has done everything in her power for 6 months prior to our fucking divorce, by the way, to separate me from those children just based on her fucking attitude and bitterness.
Yeah.
How is that my fault? How is it my fault that it's somebody else is an evil prick? You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
And this is what I think a lot of guys do miss out on, even with the blue pill mindset, who've gone through life with their wives or whatever, and everything's hunky dory, who've never experienced themselves. I mean, young men are learning on their own from guys like us, sharing our stories that they don't want to be a part of it, right?
Mhm.
If my
Yep.
sons grew up and came to me when they were 20 and said, "Dad, I wouldn't marry abroad or date one in the Western world," right? For fear
Mhm.
of becoming a part of the 87 fucking percent, which is probably higher than 87%, let's be honest. I wouldn't blame them at all, right?
Yep.
That would be like
Yep.
saying if I stuck my hand in a wood chipper, I'm gonna expect it to get cut the fuck up, right?
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
gonna get
Mhm.
chewed up. I wouldn't do that. I'm not gonna stick my hand in that wood chipper. They aren't sticking their hands into the marriage or family life. And again, it's not because they don't want to, it's because they're not allowed to. They are
Yep.
monetized, they are used and abused. The children are nothing but pawns, right?
Mhm.
To both
Mhm.
the system and the mothers. They're nothing but pawns. The mothers get to use them as a shield too. So I mean, I guess it's a double whammy there. But outlaw, you gotta, whether you're not gonna say it or not, we know you got a brother-in-law or a brother that's going through
His
this.
brother.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Brother.
So
Um. He he got divorced. Both kids were turned on him from lies told by the mother, and it crushed him. And it crushed the rest of our family too because we were very close to those two kids. You see, this is the part that people don't talk about on the man side anyway, because most of the culture doesn't care about how men go through and deal with it. Oh, you're men, you can take it. You build societies. This ain't nothing for you. Well, they stop and forget to consider that men do have feelings too and emotion, and it cuts us deep. She turned both kids on him, made up lies about him, and guess who got to raise both of them? Not her, the grandparents that
uh,
she lived with.
yeah,
You
that's
see,
generally how it goes. That is
she went
generally
out, whored around, drank, did whatever she wanted to do. The grandparents raised both of them, continued to tell their lies, and the son, as far as I know, wants nothing else to do with my brother.
yeah,
And the daughter, he's lucky if he gets to see his grandkids.
yeah. Well, I mean, my ex-wife did the same thing. The first thing she did actually was cut off her own mother. Do you know why? Because it was the only thing me and her mother ever agreed on, as my
Hmm.
former mother-in-law, who's passed away now. Um, the only thing we ever agreed on in the years that we knew each other was the fact
Hmm.
that kids needed a father. They
Yeah,
needed their father,
yeah.
not some fucking random dude that she met on Tinder this week who will be replaced by somebody else in a month or two down the road. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
They needed their biological father in their lives. And even though she is, from what I've been told, right?
Yeah.
She literally had one of the worst husbands you could ask for, right? Like
Mhm.
pulling out guns and stuff on people in the family, and you know, putting the kid on its lap and pulling out a gun and saying, "If you leave, I'll kill us all." You know that.
That's the one that self-deleted.
No. That
Oh,
was my ex-wife's dad. My ex-wife's
I see.
former husband self-deleted. So he was how I met her, right? He was my initial friend online that we used to game together all the time. We did it for years. And, you know, you grow closer to people. And then one day he didn't show up. And then a day turned into a week, and a week turned into a month. And then I found out through a mutual friend of ours that he had apparently killed himself. Right? So, but he gets all the admiration in the world. They've even got my children brainwashed to admire him, and they don't even know him. They never met him. He was
He's
dead.
got martyr status.
Yeah, he's got martyr status because he was at least considerate enough to die, right? Because if they had actually gone through a divorce,
Wow.
she would have treated him the exact same way she treated me, which is what she wants, which is what most of them want. They just want to see your monthly paycheck come in. They don't give a shit if your kids are doing well or not. They don't
Well,
care if you see them.
it's a retirement grift, you know.
Yeah.
We've all seen the video where the one's got more than one. I'll get, 300 from this one, 300 from that one, 300. At the end of the month, she's, $1,400 coming in child support. Like, it's not saying it's a lot of money, but it is. You wouldn't get all that if it was all this from the same dude.
No,
Is
but
what
I mean,
what I'm saying.
it's a way of turning children into fucking pawns. You're using children. They use children, and they don't give a fuck who burns down in the middle of it. Right?
Oh
They
yeah,
don't care
they will
what
weaponize
happens.
them for
Yeah,
sure.
of course they are.
Often at the instruction of their legal counsel. Like
Yeah.
first thing to do is let's claim abuse,
Yeah.
because then you can't see them because you were abusive.
Yep.
You know?
Mhm.
Yep. Emergency temporary custody.
Yeah, and once that's set, that becomes the status quo. That becomes like the permanent order, like.
And I mean, it's not even needed, right? If I were to take Michael right now, my youngest boy, if I were to take him right now, load him up in the car, and drive away,
Amber Alert.
within 48 hours, I will be either in handcuffs or riddled with fucking bullet holes.
Yeah.
If his mom were to take him and do the exact same thing, right? I would be told it's a civil matter. You need to go through the family court process, and I may not see my son again for another 2.5 years. If I ever seen him again at all. And it's not because the law is any different for me or her. Okay?
It shouldn't be.
It isn't. It isn't. It's just done differently.
It's applied differently.
Yeah, it's applied differently. Exactly. Right? If you had joint custody of a child and you were 3 minutes late, they would be waiting at her door for you when you did show up.
Yep.
And your ass is going to jail for kidnapping. You cannot deny it because we have literally thousands of video footage hours of this exact scenario happening. Right? The exact scenario. The idea of being a sole custodian of a child, right? Or having a permanent placement and no joint custody is control and torture. That's what it is. For my ex-wife, the idea of me succeeding and having a relationship with our 3 boys, right, would literally melt her insides. Like Ark of the Covenant style fucking melting of the insides.
Yeah, I've always said 50-50. The 50-50 should be the de facto default unless there's some circumstances, why not? Like, oh yeah,
But that's just
you
it.
know,
They will come up with circumstances no matter what. And let's be
yeah.
honest, if John doesn't know or nobody else knows, all she has to do is walk in there and say it. Proof is
Uh,
not required. But you have to defend yourself against it, and your proof is required. But how do you prove that you didn't beat your kid a year
yeah,
ago?
yeah.
Right? I mean, all she's got to do is convince the
The,
kid to say it, and that's done every day too.
and
Mhm.
not even if the kid is young enough, like they're not even usually involved. You have to guardian ad litem for them, so they get represented by their own legal representation to say anything to the court.
Yeah,
You know,
and when
so
the social services group is the one they're taking their opinions off,
yeah,
and their goal is to do the exact same thing as the judge's goal is,
exactly.
they're
Yeah,
going
yeah,
to do whatever they need to do to get you on their fucking books. Right?
yeah.
We had social workers involved, right? My ex-wife
Mm-hmm.
pulled the whole what was it? Um I believe it
Scared for her
was
safety.
no, it
She's
was some
scared.
kind of abuse and neglect thing,
Oh,
right?
of the kids.
Of the kids, yeah.
Yeah,
And she had 6 social workers working with her to make sure that that became a fucking reality. In
right.
the end, when their report said we found nothing to prove otherwise, didn't matter. Because A, the courts took it as an active fucking case against me. So there's your black mark, right? The
Yep.
fact that it was dismissed and canceled 2 days after, right? Didn't matter.
Yeah.
And when I went to social services and said to these same women, like, hey, what rights do I have now? Because again, legalese is very, very fucking out of the normal person's like scope of understanding. They couldn't even tell me what rights I had as a father. They don't fucking even get taught that, right?
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
there was like, no, there's nothing we can do. Really? Because you did a lot to get in between us, but you can't do anything to get us back together. Okay. That literally makes perfect sense, right?
Mhm.
They have
Yeah.
to pay for these systems somehow, and it's through dads and children that they do it. Their hands are fucking buried in blood.
Yeah.
Buried.
Yeah.
They have killed more men and led more children down the fucking path of drugs and gangs and fucking prostitution and everything else you can think of. Even all the strippers who said they had daddy issues, that's where it stemmed from, the family courts. Now, with this chick, as far as I know, like I said, if she is the if the oldest boy is my buddy's, she didn't require any of that. She just took the kid and left and never let him talk to him again. Guess who's stopping her? Nobody.
Nobody. Nobody.
Nobody.
No.
Yeah.
And that's without a court order of any kind. Now, the first thing I would tell an officer that tried to stop me from taking Michael, I'd be like, show me the fucking court order. Show me the court order where she has primary custody of this child. And he wouldn't be able to produce it because we don't have one. Right? But
Mhm.
it wouldn't take her long to get one.
No. No.
So,
Yeah, there are definite tactics used, you know. Um,
Mhm.
Painting you out to be a criminal is one of the first ones.
yeah.
If they can hem you up with criminal charges to deal with, you can't focus on dealing with the family court until you get through the criminal court.
Yep.
And usually what happens is the family court wraps up before the criminal court has. So as you've gone through family court, you're an accused criminal. You
Yeah.
know, so, yeah,
Mhm.
you don't get
But
anything.
let's welcome brother Doug to the stream. I know he's
Hello.
not a
Nice to
Hey,
father
see
brother
you.
either.
Doug.
Good to
How
see
are you,
you,
buddy?
brothers.
How are you, my
I,
man?
I'm doing better, man. I got a lot of good people here that helping me out, but I appreciate all of you guys. Thanks.
Hey,
I
man.
don't really have a horror story for you, but I just kind of want to just hang out, basically, listen to what you
Well,
guys have to say.
well, Doug, you're an outside perspective, right? You're not a father, like you said. You don't have many stories when it comes to separation of children from fathers, but you've heard our plights, right? Do
Yeah.
you want to fucking sign up to be either taking on a single mother or making one?
You know, about 15 years ago, I probably would have done something like that, but now that what little wisdom I've gained, no, I'm good. I'm good
Yeah,
just continuing down the path I'm on.
yeah. And like I got to be honest with you, with a track record, right, of two children for two different guys, and both fathers are not in those children's lives. Do you think the odds are that she picked two really bad dudes, or that she's the common denominator here? And the only reason those both of those kids don't see their dads is
I would
because of
say
her?
yes,
Yeah.
because female accountability doesn't really. I don't see it, but I've never seen it. It's always somebody else's fault.
Mhm,
Exactly.
mhm, mhm.
Exactly.
What I would tell him is I want him to understand that there is a very real uh, deal going on with why women most of the time gets children in the divorce court cases because it's money. It's
Yeah.
all it always comes down to money. They make money off of the women who are able to get these kids from these men. They know that it's easier to go through the emotionally thinking female to get them to lie on them. Uh,
Mhm.
Ironically enough, they use women's femininity against men when it benefits them, and that's where it benefits them is in the
Yeah.
courts. Uh,
Exactly.
you know,
I mean,
they
they
go ahead.
don't get the free attorneys and the fucking 6 social workers on their side and shit like that, right?
Yeah,
Without it benefiting those people.
yeah.
At my first meeting in a family court, right,
Hmm.
which was like a discovery, I think they called it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It was my ex-wife on one side, 5 fucking social workers, right? And little
Hmm.
old me on the other side.
Hmm.
That's it. Just me. I didn't have the $10,000 down as a fucking immigrant that was in the US to slap down for a lawyer, right? Now in
Hmm.
this discovery there was no lawyer, but the next time we went to court, she had a lawyer present as well. So now she had a whole team of 6 plus a judge, right?
Hmm.
Who's going to
Hmm.
benefit from keeping me away from my kids, right?
Yeah.
All on her side. What fucking hope in hell did I have? I mean, I couldn't break out a fucking $100,000 and say, "Hey, judge, this is for your retirement. Let me have my kids." He probably would have taken it. He probably would have taken it.
Part of the problem is people that think like this have got to stop being afraid to look at these women for who they really are. They've
Yeah,
got this misogynistic lens on, scared to question them, scared to say anything negative about them. Don't be afraid to look into these women's past.
yeah.
There's a there's
There's
a
a track
reason why
record.
yeah,
There's a track record,
yeah.
and those should
I
be red
mean,
flags.
you know,
Pardon me.
so many men are scared to look into these women's past, scared that society's going to label them a misogynist, come after their job, shit like that. But does that stop the truth? If they take your job away from you, if they label you a misogynist, does that change how evil these women are? No. All it proves is that there's evil people coming at you, wanting to make an example of you to shut you up because they're guilty.
Yeah,
They're
they're all
guilty.
they're all in it together. I mean, when they all
Yes.
get paid by the same fucking person, right?
Yeah.
They're all going to go in together. Why the hell would they ever do anything that's right or fair? I
Yeah.
mean, we see the occasional, let's call it what it is, showboating, right? of
Mhm.
judges coming down hard on mothers when it comes to the family court. But again, showboating, right? And it's one in like 155 fucking thousand. That's not very
Oh
even,
yeah,
right? The numbers
yeah,
don't lie. These aren't our numbers. These are the court's numbers. That's the court recording numbers, right?
yes,
They admit to 87% of men get no custody, no interaction with their kids at all.
Mhm.
yeah. So the numbers don't lie,
The
and
numbers don't
because
lie.
they're the incentives, the incentives, the prizes they get are too good to pass up, as opposed to doing the moral thing and the right thing. They're not. It doesn't appear they're thinking about those on those terms. It's like, just what can I get out of this
Well,
person?
that and they're set up to take it that way. I mean, it's just like what we saw with the COVID thing, right? With the hospitals essentially not being willing to write down any other type of death but COVID related death because they were getting paid more money when they had a COVID related death, right? Or an
Mhm.
incident.
Extra
or whatever.
money.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's the hospitals. They take a Hippocratical oath or whatever the fuck it is that says they will do no harm, right? But they don't
Mhm.
take one that doesn't say that they won't fucking profit off doing harm. I
Yeah,
guess maybe we need to
there's no
reword
oath.
it.
And
There's
this
no
goes
oath
for,
against billing.
and this goes for any man out there like this who has this mindset. I challenge you to look at these men who you're criticizing again and really do some soul searching of men who have been stripped from their kids and really ask yourself, are they really the bad guy here when they're trying to make all the efforts in the world to see them
Mhm.
and trying to visit them and do what they've got to do to be with them? I want you to soul search and look at these men again.
Yes.
It's not always the men, folks. I'm telling you.
Mostly it isn't.
I
Well,
have
You
seen,
hit it right on the head there.
yeah.
Right
let me.
on the head.
I wonder. I went and did some normie things today, and I was just curious if you guys think that for some people it's better for them to stay blue pilled, because if they take the red pill, it will throw them off into like a mental breakdown that they really can't handle.
Well, Doug, I believe personally, and I know we've talked about it a few times, that a lot of young men, like that are in that, marriage, serious dating age, right? A lot of them are offing themselves because we've seen the teen suicide rate go through the fucking roof, right? A
Yeah.
big portion of that has to do with fatherless homes, and a big portion of that has to do with them realizing the world ain't the fucking pretty picture they've been painted.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not even the bad picture they've been painted. Like the veil of what the hell is going on with today's, I guess, relationship between men and women,
Yeah.
right? And it doesn't matter. She could be 50 and still think the same fucking way because this has been
Yeah.
going on for decades. But
Oh yeah.
as a young man now, right? If I could turn back the clock and be 20 and told, okay, this is what you're dealing with now, I'd probably eat my own gun too.
Yeah. Or it also has the potential, to set you up for success. But it's weird that through life that and this is no judgment because I care about people, men and women actually, but mostly do men, but it's like they seem like it's just easier to keep that veil of illusion over. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like if I really take this red pill and my eyes are opened, oh my God, what am I going to see?
Yeah. Well, you're cutting out a bit there, Doug, but you're exactly right. The overwhelming weight and disappointment that hits them when they realize that the world has not been the place that our parents sold us, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got more young men now than ever, right? And women. Don't get me wrong, affects us all, men and women. We're not picking a side here, We're just saying the facts, right? But when young women grow up without fathers, they generally repeat the same cycle as their mothers,
Yeah.
right? That's been laid out as clear and as logical as possible, and the numbers have been put out there, but nobody wants to talk about that. Young men grow up with no role models, really. They generally end up in prison. They generally end up in gangs, getting involved with stupid shit, and ending up in prison, for the rest of their lives. I got a nephew who's literally living through it right now behind bars, right? Or they end up dead. And with the last 5 years of all this woke agenda pushing bullshit and trying to castrate children, we now have a percentage of men that think they're women that is so fucking high. It's insane.
It is. Yeah.
And they couldn't program a young man to think this way 40 years ago.
No.
But
No.
now they've got them from birth, right? Because they've got mom from birth, right?
Mhm.
As soon as mom has the kid, they start handing out the little freebies, right? You're a victim. You're this. You're entitled to this. We're going to give you that because you don't need no man, right? And that
that's
kid
right.
don't need no father. We'll be daddy government. All of it kind of fits together, man.
It does.
They
Yeah.
don't want to see any fucking families together and intact because
No.
they would literally do any. If a country wanted families together and intact and stable, they
Yeah.
would not do anything that the Western world has done.
It's
Nothing.
It's the biggest resistance to tyranny and communism. Is the
Absolutely.
family. It's the biggest
Absolutely.
thing standing in its way.
Yep. Well, like I stated to you guys a while back, the church gave us our moral foundations. The family helped keep the moral foundation intact because the idea of bringing shame to your family, right, was bad. Now there is none, right? But it all started with a moral foundation. Without morals, we got nothing. You cannot build a fucking castle on sand, right? You can't. Morals are the foundation. So
It was all about breaking. Remember, we talked about this, breaking that triune cord.
mhm.
Remember that saying in the Bible, a threefold cord is not so easily broken. That's your family unit, your modern nuclear family.
Yep.
It was all about replacing the father of the homes with Big Daddy government.
Yeah. Yeah. And the
As a
church has
pimp.
already been removed.
Oh
The
yeah.
church, the
Yeah.
community,
It's irrelevant now.
it's all irrelevant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, gents, we're coming up on an hour, and if nobody else wants to come in and share their story, I think we kind of got the point across.
Yep.
Nobody isn't affected by this, and you can't touch one corner of the first world country where this isn't the fucking standard now. I mean, France was one of the first places to remove DNA testing as being a legal presentative fact in a family court. So even if the kid isn't yours, right, you're still on the hook for child support. That's coming to the Western world too, right? The U.S., Canada, Australia, that's coming there too. Britain, of course, right? Let's face it, we've already heard cases in the U.S. where a lady just put down a dude's name just so she could get welfare, and she collects his child support to this day.
Gosh.
Yeah, and that's gone on for 7 or 8 years. So they ain't no victim. It is the I guess the bottom line of what I'm trying to say here to John is that they aren't the victims. The kids are the victims.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They're the perpetrators.
That's right. The mothers, the single mothers, what I consider a single mother is a perpetrator. Okay. Myself and my kids' mom, hopefully when we stop cohabbing together and stuff, she will be still listed as a parent, not as a single mother, because she can do the exact same things to me that my ex-wife did in the States. And there will be no repercussions for her. None. Paternity fraud is already illegal, and they don't fucking bother charging them with that.
Mm-mm.
Right? But
That's right.
Yep.
now in the US, they want you to start paying child support from the day of conception. You can't even present a DNA evidence, right? So you got at
Jeez.
least 9 months of paying child support. So why the hell wouldn't they add on 9 months to the money they collect? It's a corrupt system.
Mhm.
And young women like Shania here,
Mhm.
they were sold a lie, and they bought into it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
Started with the first wave feminism, and it just snowballed from there once they got big daddy government involved. They started using them. That woman has been used. Okay? Those children are being used to this day, and the mother is allowing it to happen. So that's what I've got to say on it. Any final thoughts from you guys?
I guess it's whether I went my own way or got sent my own way, as they like to say. I believe that I'm on the better side of it, having taken this path in life. Um, I genuinely like to see people as good and believe the best things about them, but you also have to be truthful and honest. And the women that I've ran across, all I can say is I'm very fortunate that one didn't slip past the goalpost, and because it would be much worse for me now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You'd be another statistic, right? Like
Yeah.
we recently, I guess last year sometime, met Ghost Pill, young man that was just going through the start of this whole process, right? And if you haven't heard his story, we can have him on again, and he can definitely share it, because it is a prime example for young men. I believe he's like 21 or 23, got a girl pregnant. First thing she did was start using that kid against him. Wasn't even out of the womb, as far as I know,
Yeah.
and was being used against him immediately. Now he's fighting tooth and nail to figure it all out, because, hey, he was handed the same contract that we were, right? In the States, while I was there, no one told me this, but the documents that I signed for the divorce was a contract that you have to be a willing participant in. So if I didn't sign shit, they couldn't touch my children.
Mm.
But they don't tell you that, and it doesn't state that anywhere clearly. It's it's in a language that's what they call lawyernese, and we don't understand it,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
it's stated right there. If I didn't sign any of those fucking documents, I was not eligible for being put on the Title 4D program or the Title 4E program, right? Which basically states that I am signing over my agency of my children to the court, making them a legal tender for them to use as they see fit.
Yep.
They don't tell you that before you sign the papers, do they?
Nope.
Mm.
Oh, isn't that amazing? And if you're in Canada, guys, and you're starting to get letters from family maintenance or whatever it's called in your province, okay, here's a side note. If you respond, right, literally in any way, phone call, email, just regular snail mail, if you respond to them, you are signing up to say that you are legally liable now for what they are sending you. So if they're sending you a bill for 40 grand, you don't owe them a fucking thing if you don't answer back. The second you answer back, Now we can take you to court.
Mm-hmm.
They don't tell you that, do they, when they send you your first message? Oh, you owe us some money, motherfucker. Right?
Yep.
So responding, signing, don't do it. Don't do it. Get, if you can, get a lawyer. But let's be honest, the lawyers and the judges all rub elbows in the same fucking wine rooms at the end of the day.
Oh yeah.
They're all in it together.
Yeah.
My best advice for young men in any country, especially any first world country, don't get involved at all. The track record is right there, right? You can see the track record. And if you take on a single mom, if you're a little bit older or something, you take on a mom with a track record of keeping children away from their fathers, well, you know what your future is going to look like if you fucking drop a fucking one past the goalie, right? So
I just think to the fact also, I can count on one hand the women I've seen who have done a selfless act, an act outside of what could benefit them. And to be honest, I can't think of one.
Well, on the other side of this, I know Lisa, right? My youngest kid's mom. She's got a track record of doing the exact opposite. And she claims that one of her friends does the same thing. But I haven't seen that personally, so I don't believe it. I'm sorry, but those is gamble long odds, and I ain't going to take the losing side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently that she tries to do everything in her power to allow her kids' dads to see those children, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doors always open. If he doesn't want to, hey, that's not an impossibility either, right? This does happen. Nothing is 100% on either side, but you can look at the numbers on average and say that something is very one-sided here.
Oh yeah,
very one-sided,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you have 400,000 mothers that take dads to family courts and do everything in their power to fucking separate their children from their fathers, and you have one that doesn't, that's a gamble long odds, buddy.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't be sticking any seeds in anyone randomly.
Hey, look, man, I'm not a dad. Never been married, and I can see through this bullshit, brother. Johnny, I guess is his name. Look, man, when you understand that that these women are out here literally making a business, they're making a business off of having kids with different men, like a job. They're getting paychecks off the government, and they're literally making bank just by having kids out of wedlock, which is incentivized, by the way.
It is. It is.
telling
Like I
you.
said, they have 4,000 different programs for single mothers. They got nothing for dads. Nothing.
Yep.
Not a fucking thing. So
A woman can sit down and tell you how much money she's going to get off each child. If she has 5 or 6 of them, don't matter. Don't nobody care, right? It's just another mouth to feed on the government dime, right? So
that's right.
she gets
Federal
more
funding.
money. And guess whose pocket it comes out of? Comes out of yours, Johnny. Comes out of mine. Comes out of every other man in this community.
Every other taxpayer.
Yep.
Yep.
And then,
Johnny, that's some bad news because I just went and picked up 2 kittens tonight. So let's hope I don't have a repeat of that, buddy.
Not only that, they come with a list of demands now too. After they've already destroyed somebody, they still feel entitled to demand more from you and me.
No.
Like I said, man, as a 20-year-old man, I wouldn't want anything to fucking do with it. Fuck that, up to 30, 35. I wouldn't want, you know what? I'm glad I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah, me too.
I'm out, homie.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Prostitution needs to make a comeback. Brothels. Let's make brothels great again.
Sure. Yeah. Prostitution,
Oh God.
AI sex bots about to get mass produced. There's options. You know
what? I would recommend any of that to a young man today over the fucking standard dating practices. any of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Stick your
Absolutely.
fucking head in the sand. That's highly recommended over the standard dating practices in what we call like first world countries.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, anyway, again, that was our final thoughts, and we went on for another 15 fucking minutes. But I'm hoping Johnny, I'm hoping John from the Dear John, I don't take this as a personal attack, buddy. We're not trying to attack you. We're just I'm trying to explain the truth of what is actually going on out there, and maybe you can see a little more clearly that this isn't on men.
That's right, Henry.
This is on their choices. And to pity these people, these young women or older women that are out there saying, "Oh, woe is me, I'm a victim," and saying that the man is the fucking perpetrator. Sorry, I don't buy that for a second, and the numbers don't lie.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, the victim mentality wins. Oh, vasectomies, yeah. Unfortunately, in some countries, they will not perform vasectomies on young men if they haven't had any children. So you got to find a doctor.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Chris.
Sorry,
I wanted
go
to
ahead.
thank the guys in the community today. And Outlaw, thank you for bringing it up earlier too. And they all pitched in for me to get a 8,000 BTU air conditioner delivered to my apartment on Saturday, so I don't have to roast in here in a furnace. And I just wanted to give everybody a heads up about that these people, these men here are better than any, and I was a church going guy for over a decade. These are the best people I've known in life. So thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you guys.
Ain't no problem, brother.
Our brother Doug was sweating to death down in that apartment with a crappy AC that didn't work. So thank you, everybody that helped pitch in for that.
Not a problem, Doug.
Doug, I hope it's working.
I haven't got it yet, but I'll get it Saturday.
Oh, you're getting it this Saturday.
I'm getting it this Saturday. They're delivering it, and I'm just humbled. I'm extremely humbled. It's amazing how people are here. So I appreciate all of you.
Hey, man. You know
absolutely,
what?
brother.
This community that we have is a place where you can find the support that you need in some way, shape, or form. Because out here in this civilized society, as we call it, where everything's gone to shit, you aren't going to find any fucking support as a man. Not even a fucking friendly show to talk to. Nope. I didn't share my stuff, what I was going through, with my own family because they wouldn't have understood. The guys that I met in the community, whether it's MGTOW, Red Pill, whatever you want to call it, okay? Those guys understood because most of them shared the exact same story. Some were a little different, but you know what? We found each other here because there's nothing for us out there. All we got were fucking deer in the headlight looks. When we mentioned our suffering, it was deers in the headlights. That's all they looked at. And you know what I found, which was very odd? All of these people that were there to help deal with family separation or counseling with grief and stuff like that, all women.
Oh, yeah.
Someone who doesn't understand what it's like to even go through it because they'll never go through it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, big shocker. Anyway, everyone, I want to thank y'all for coming tonight and doing this short Dear John to our dear friend John. And I hope, John, you never have to go through any of this. I hope you live a long, peaceful life. God bless, brother. Whatever. I'm not religious, but
hey,
you know.
Paul.
What's up,
Hey,
Paul?
bro.
But anyway, that's the end of that, gents. And if you want to jump into the backstage, we will stay on here for probably another hour, and the StreamYard's link will still be good. So thank you all for coming, and we're out.
Peace.
Peace.